we'll see about the translation of Enoch. We find about Enoch in Genesis chapter 5 and Hebrews chapter 11. Genesis chapter 5, verse 22. And Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah 300 years, and he begat sons and daughters. Verse 23. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years, and Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. While about all the others it is stated that he died, and he died. But about Enoch it is stated, for God took him. Now we'll see Hebrews. In Hebrews it is written, by faith Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found, because God had translated him. For before translation he had this testimony that he pleased God. That means he walked with God, so he pleased God, that God took him to his kingdom. But he has not gone to the kingdom in flesh and in blood. What other people preach is that Enoch did not see death, and he went away in flesh and blood, just like that. He walked with God in the human form. But that is not what is mentioned in the Bible. The book of Hebrews states very clearly that he was translated. Now, what is translation? In science, translation means change of state or change of form, from one form to other form. So Enoch did not go to God's kingdom in flesh and blood, but Enoch is translated. That means his body has disintegrated or disappeared or became mud and dust, like it has to be, because everybody after dying, when they are buried, they become the mineral form, like how they have been created from the dust, they go back to the dust. There is a change of form. That means his soul is separated from the body. He did not die like a common human being, be it in sleep or be it through sickness. We can take it like that. Or he did not die in sin. We can consider that. Or else we can even think that he did not die mortal death, that his body needed other kinds of purification methods and the burial rituals and all. We don't see anything like that here. But we can understand that he was no more, and maybe he would have told, just like Jesus said, I'm going into the mountain to pray and to spend time with God, and I'll come back. And then probably he would have gone to a place where he usually goes, and he was not found in that place. And maybe his clothes were found, or maybe just a heap of dust is found. We do not know. But we can just understand that he has been translated and not taken in the form of a human being, like in blood and flesh. So because the Bible mentions that no blood and flesh can inherit God's kingdom, it is predicted that because Enoch had gone in blood and flesh to God's kingdom, he is the one who is supposed to come back along with Moses or along with Elijah in the last days. Because in the book of Revelation it is mentioned that two great preachers will come to preach Israel for their reformation, but they will be killed and they will again rise on the third day, and the whole world will see it. So people predict it, like Enoch will come back, Elijah will come back, because they are the ones who have gone. No, Moses had died. Enoch is translated. That means change of form. It is not very significant whether you are translated, whether you die, whether you live, and whether God comes. It is inevitable that we will get to face the Lord one day. So inevitably, even if you want to escape, whether you want to believe it or not, whether you want to please God or not, it doesn't matter. But one day we are going to stand in front of him. That is inevitable. It is clear that he's translated. That means he has a change of form. It doesn't mean that people are going to get translated. Nowhere else it is mentioned. And people think that meeting God after the first resurrection, and the first resurrection belongs to those who have died a martyr death. The Bible is very clear about that. It is not for everybody. Everybody is not going to rise and meet the Lord in clouds. And it is after the first resurrection, those who died a martyr death are going to rise and go and meet the Lord in clouds. Not everybody is going to get that chance. It is only for the martyrs. So everybody thinks that there is this word called rapture that has come. So now there is nothing like rapture mentioned in the Bible. People think that the rapture is something that is going to happen before the tribulation period and all, so that all those who believe God will be taken away and all those who are left on the earth are tried. That is not correct, because God is going to come, of course, and at his coming as a king, he will be waiting in the clouds to meet those martyrs. And after the millennial reign, there will be second resurrection, when all the people who died from the beginning will rise, and even people from hell and heaven are going to come, and they will assemble before the Lord, and the Lord will separate them as good and bad, because already those who are in hell are not going to come and inherit heaven. They are anyway going to the lake of fire. So God has decided only two places, heaven and hell. So they will be going to that eternal lake of fire. So it doesn't mean that those who are coming up from hell are going to go and inherit heaven after being tormented for a while. It's not like that. So the books of life will be opened, and even the names of those who are already written in the book of life but blotted. That means if they don't live a pleasing life with God, their names can be blotted and they cannot go and inherit God's kingdom. When the body dies, the spirit or the soul is carried to God. In the same way, even translation has got the similar process. His body is no more, and then his soul is carried to God. So God takes him away. That he should not see death in the sense maybe a mortal death, because all the others of his time lived for about 900 years and over. But Enoch was the only person who lived for 365 years. That is very, very less when compared to all the others. So in that way, he did not live like other people or die like other people, like how they used to die during those times. Walking with God is something that you need to take it with you if you are interested about Enoch. That's all. The Bible does not mention about reincarnation, be it of Elijah or of Enoch or of Moses. No, the Bible does not give us any clue or any verse that is specifically stated that these two people are going to come back again. No. And remember the context when Jesus speaks about the rich man and Lazarus. In that context, it is said that they had Moses, they had prophets and all, but they wouldn't listen. And why will they listen even if Lazarus goes back and tells them? So that means we already had Moses, we already had Elijah, we already are having so many other people who are talking about God. That's it. So the Bible does not talk about any reincarnation. So don't believe in these things that Enoch is going to come back, Elijah is going to come back. Nothing like that is going to happen. And if there was reincarnation or rebirth, anything like that, God doesn't have any need to do so much for all of us, for mankind. There is no need for God to come here and become the sacrifice if it was the case of rebirth. So we don't have any rebirth, we don't have any reincarnation, but we believe that those who are appointed for that end time to preach to the people of Israel are appointed. They must have been born already, or they will they will be born in a time that is appointed. We don't have any idea, but these are not the people who are going to come back. So read your Bible and be clear with the statements. The Bible is stating very clearly about translation. Translation means change of form. So from the human form to a spiritual form. That means there is the soul is transitioned or translated, that the soul leaves the body and it has gone with God. So maybe he is in prayer. What is walking with God? Talking with God, walking with God, spending with God. So he was maybe talking with God. Maybe he was there sitting and discussing, and okay, let's go home. And his soul left his body and he's gone to God's kingdom. That must have happened. So his body was left over there, and people assume that because he was praying, he walked with God and God took him away. God took him away because that is not a natural kind of death. Like how everybody gets old, because that is not a time of industrial pollution, that is not a time of cancers, that was not a time of accidents. We don't have any automobiles. So if people die, that should be either because of sickness or because of old age. So because he did not undergo any of these kind of things, it can be assumed, or it is spoken of him, that God took him away. Because as he was praying, as he was spending his time with God, he went and he never came back. And when we went there, he was not found. He was not found because he's no more. And we just found his clothes, or we found the heap of dust, and we knew that he just has gone, that God took him away. So that is the statement. And don't be carried off by all these things. And this is not even so important that we should be concentrating on. Word is created called rapture. Rapture. What is rapture? A time will come, the trumpet is blown, and all those people who are living are translated like Enoch. No, that is not going to happen. It did happen with Enoch. It doesn't mean that people are going to get translated and God carries them off, and that is called the rapture. Nothing like that is mentioned in the book of Revelation. Go and read the Bible. Carried the testimony. That is what Hebrews says. So Paul says in Hebrews that he carried the testimony that he's a good person, he walked with God, and people could see that. That is why people stated that he was not found, his God took him away. Why did people begin to say God took him away? Because he carried that testimony. In the book of Jude, it is mentioned that all those people who lived and had known God earlier, who had their testimonies, did not keep them, and so they lost their testimonies and ended up with the wrath of God. So be it the angels, be it the human beings, so when they did not maintain that testimony, they are subjected to punishment. That is what the book of Jude says, to keep safe our testimony. That is what we need to understand in case of Enoch also. So the matter that we are going to carry forward with the context of Enoch is that he walked with God and he had kept up his testimony. That is what is important. So if we don't keep up the testimony, our names will be blotted from the book of life. So there is nothing like a translation that is going to happen at the period of rapture, because there is nothing like rapture that is going to happen before the tribulation time. You don't even know when the tribulation time is, or whether the tribulation time is already happening. After the 1,000 years of millennial reign, there will be second resurrection. Now all these things are prophecies, and we do not know what exact timeline are we living in. We'll be seeing God beat on the judgment day, or else we are going to die and stand before the Lord for judgment. Judgment is anyway going to happen, whether we are going to live and live to see Him, or whether we are going to die and be risen to see Him. The life and death of Enoch has no other significance except for the fact that carry your testimony. That's all. The testimony is not about an experience that, or an encounter that you have with God just for once in life. No. Testimony is your walk with God. That encounter that changes you, or that captivates you and helps you to live with Him, being filled with His Spirit. So you need to be living, pleasing to God in the way that He wants you to live, and continue to do that. Be changed so that you can have His character or His nature getting exhibited in you, and it is painful. That is where you deny yourself and take up the cross and live, because every situation that is painful is going to yield a fruit of the Spirit, or a character or a nature of Jesus Himself, where Jesus is being perfected in us. That is what we need to remember. So nothing but in the story of Enoch, it is not the supernatural or the natural translation that happened, that maybe he's on his knees and praying and his soul left the body, and so people began to feel it very unusual, because how come that he died only at 300 years while all the others are dying at the age of 900 years? He is too young to die in that way, and he was just praying, he was on his knees, and we found that he has no life in him. He's no more. Maybe it is that scenario, or else maybe we just found his sandals and his clothes and a heap of dust and nothing else. He's nowhere to be found. Maybe God took him away. It can be like his physical body is found or not, but he is no more. He is translated, in the sense the state of his soul is translated from a mortal life to an immortal life. So he stands as the proof for eternity. That's all. And those who walk with God, God is going to take him home. That is what we have to keep in mind about Enoch. Enoch's death might signify the spiritual death, that his soul did not taste death. He did not have anything to sacrifice at all of his life. He lived so spiritually, he lived so close to God, and he was such a righteous man that he never offered any sacrifice at all. He had carried that testimony, and he's found nowhere. Maybe God took him. So that is the testimony that we should be carrying forward, that when we die with the belief of going to eternity. That is what we show to others. And the nature that is there within us, or the kind of character that we develop with every tribulation and trial, or walking with God, whatever it yields, will be reflected so that others can see. And so that is how we reflect that testimony. That's all. Testimony is not just one event or two, or one encounter with God or two, or one miracle or two in your life. No, a life with God is completely different. And you walk with Him and you keep on walking with Him. So that's the kind of personal relationship that people have. So here Enoch's death is not of very much significance, and he is not the one who is going to come back with Elijah to preach to Israel in the end of times, because there is no reincarnation or rebirth. That we need to keep in mind. And there is nothing like a translation period that is going to be there for all of the human beings before the tribulation or before the second coming of Jesus. No, there is no such thing that's going to happen. In the Bible, in several places, it is mentioned that you don't realize that people are being carried off, in the sense people are taken away, in the sense they are dying. You don't realize that they are taken away. They are dying, but you don't realize that they are taken away. So that means that is whatever you term as rapture, but otherwise there is nothing like rapture that is going to happen. One thing is clear: you will see God. Whether you will make it up to the time when Jesus comes, or whether you're going to die a martyr death, or whether you're going to die before all these things could happen and be resurrected at the second resurrection and stand in the day of judgment. However it is, but we are going to see the Lord. That is for sure. Every eye will see Him, and every knee will bow down before Him. And that is going to happen. Nothing is going to change that. We need to keep in mind that all these things are not important. What is important is that we keep up the testimony and we walk with God.